Well, I was thinking we could continue that conversation we had on the phone of the hidden hero. I just read that article you sent about the Medal of Honor, who's a janitor. That's a cool story.
And it happens all the time. It happens all the time, which leads into, we're not going to splash around in the kiddie pool on this one. You got to dive into the deep.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, I always do, and I always mean it. Audience, this is not staged. None of it. Is it, Tom?
Nope. Not a least stage thing.
Um, but I always ask because I want to set it up for myself and for the audience. So, what about hidden heroes? That term and wanting to discuss it. What's the genesis of that in your young mind?
Um, I think it kind of started from a few different things. Um, but one of I think the catalyst that probably happened like 5 months ago was, um, just noticing how good some people are at what they do, but no one ever tells them they're that good, or they have no like accolades to show for it. But they're
Okay.
actually stupendous at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me thinking also about like a lot of the fighters in the war. And I was just thinking through Memorial Day of like how many soldiers have been lost and fought and did great things, but we don't know their names. And yet their sacrifice still gave us the freedom we enjoy today. So it was kind of a little bit of a sad thought. I was like, man, all these people that I could never really thank, and they didn't even know I would even exist, but they still gave it to me. So
Notice the look on my face. What did you just say? That you could what?
could thank them.
No, you said that I could never thank.
Oh, that was a yeah.
No, that's the honest truth of what you were thinking, but you're
Hmm.
dead wrong. Do you want to start there?
Sure.
So, how do you think or thank hidden? Let's call them giants because that's what they are. I mean, heroes are giants and giants are heroes in the purest, truest sense of the words. Can we
Hmm.
agree on that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, how do you thank all of the hidden giants? Easy. You live with the same level and measure of character, integrity, courage, and if they had it in them, and they all didn't, that's another story for another day.
Hmm.
Kindness, forbearance, tenderness. You live your life that you have because of their sacrifice with the same level and depth and purity of character, integrity, courage, honesty that they did until their job was finished. That's thanks. That's all they were living for. Now, I know they were living for, you know, Leslie Ann, what's her name, and their kids, and I get that. But in the end, they were living so that a way of life that was far better and is, that was far freer and still is to a point, that was worth living and dying and risking for far beyond that which they were fighting against. Well, how can you say that? Because damn near everybody that lives under the crushing oppression of those places and those systems will risk an inner tube over 80 miles of open ocean with sharks and everything else to get away from it, to get to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what they were fighting for. That's what you have available. And that is what you make the most of by living in such a way that the next generation wants to live the same way. Now, can you force them? No. Are educational systems and Hollywood and all kinds of other things working together to fill their minds and their hearts with the garbage that we are battling and like it's a good thing? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
And those that are not part of the system, the ruling class elite and their foot soldiers, have always known that it was worthless what they were trying to shove down throats. And they didn't accept it. And they're still not accepting it now. There are a whole lot more people, exponentially, vastly more people that love freedom, that love individual responsibility,
That's a big one.
and that love the American way than those that spit on it and pee on it and poop on it and get paid to fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have the cameras and the microphones shoved in our face.
Mm-hmm.
Hidden heroes, hidden giants. All right, so to dive into this, let's go this way. First, you have to know what a giant is. Do you know what a giant looks like, Tom? What does a giant look like?
Um, I guess the first word that comes to mind is someone you admire.
Okay. And what do you admire about them?
Their character,
And
uh, the actions that they do, the things they do.
okay. Anything about their visage, the tint?
Um, well, I think you can see it that just how they hold themselves of the type of person they are, but I wasn't thinking necessarily just looks exactly because there's a lot of people you wouldn't think could do something that were the best.
There you go. I just was forcibly retired from an industry where men will work somewhere between 70 and 100 hours a week, depending on if you're a craftsman or if you're in management. Craftsmen can work when we're doing shutdowns and stuff, they work 7/12s. Okay. That's 84 hours a week. And if you're in management, you're on the clock for 91 hours a week. If you're any good at it, you're there an hour and a half early, and sometimes you stay an hour late, and you average about 100 hours a week at work, behind the gate. And yet these are the same dudes, and I'm talking about work. 96 to 102 degrees, wearing what we call FR, flame retardant clothing, which is a sham, a stupid ass
Doesn't
marketing
work.
sham.
Yeah.
It's heavy starch, and you wash it 5 times, there's no starch left.
Yeah.
Okay. But it doesn't breathe. It's heavy cotton with heavy starch, and it doesn't breathe. What does that mean? That means you sweat your, I'm going to be nice, you sweat everything off
hmm
under the guise of safety. Now, are flash fires dangerous and deadly? Sure. I mean, just one can burn you third degree and mar you for life or kill you. The number of flash fires and the number of men harmed or killed by flash fires is this big compared to the number of men that wind up having heat stroke,
Mm,
life altering, forever disability because uh, they just overheated far too much, too many times.
mm,
Another story for another day. Sorry. But in that realm where some of them are lifting, anywhere from 8 to 40 pounds, many times a day if you're a Boilermaker. And, it's less than a pound, yes. But a welder that's doing this 12 hours a day with his arms up here, or he's on his back and he's looking at a mirror and he's doing it up here, you think he ain't getting absolutely worn out, tired, and woo,
yeah.
nothing but respect for welders. Dumbest people in the field. Why would you want to be a welder? Anyway,
Mm,
these are the same guys that will get up and go 2 hours every damn morning to Anytime Fitness or whatever and pump weights and do pull-ups and rowing machines and so that they can look like bullfrogs. What? Why?
that's crazy.
Because that's what successful people look like. That's what leaders in our industry look like. I'm talking about in their mind. That's what giants truly look like because it proves my discipline. No, it doesn't. It proves either your ego or your ignorance or both. And to my dear friends, and they know they are, in the field that look like bullfrogs, I'm proud for you. Have at it, baby. But damn it, son, get out and have a life. Don't just stay in the gym. My point is the world thinks it knows what a giant looks like. It thinks it knows what a hero looks like. Two things to understand real quick, which I know you do, but we're going to cover it. Number one, the entire world loves heroes, giants,
Mm,
loves them. Well, how do you know that? How many trillions of dollars are spent globally every single year to watch now AI generated? It used to be CG, computer generated. Now it's AI generated spectacles of He-Man, Superman, Iron Man, Aquaman, the Justice League. Come on, guys. We're not 11 years old anymore.
yeah.
And instead of a 15-cent comic book that you went through and went, ooh, yeah, cool, ooh, awesome. And then you pass it off to your buddy, we're now spending anywhere between 6 and 12, or I don't know what they're. I haven't been to a damn movie theater in so long. Thank you, Lord. But as grown-ups, not to take our children, but to get our own hearts, minds, imaginations filled yet again with the success of the one against the darkness of the many.
Mm,
The success of the one against the darkness of the many. And that is what the world thinks a hero is.
mm.
What do you think of what I just said?
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'd like to hear your continued thought.
Huh?
I'd like to hear the next thought because I'm,
Well, can you see why I would come up with that thought?
yeah, totally.
All right. Now, full disclosure. I don't care about now in 1978 when Superman came out, Christopher Reeves,
Hmm.
I still remember I was in Duluth, Minnesota. I was engaged to I'm not going to say her name. Oh, I don't mind. I'm proud of it. But anyway, Mary Williamson. She was a little Norwegian girl from Duluth. I was almost 19. I was going in to be a sophomore in college. But by golly, we were going to go see Superman.
Mhm.
Why? One, it had never been done like that, ever. Two, I was still a kid in my head. Now, in my head, I was a man. I had this. I didn't have this, but I had this. I've had this since I was 15. But I was still a kid. And I love seeing him up the side of that uh, skyscraper and grab that copter and grab her, and all that stuff. Paul put it this way for himself. He goes, when I was a child, I thought like a child. I spake as a child, and I reasoned as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I had the view of a hero, a giant, that the world has. I had it for far too long. I had it about myself. That's why I drove myself to do stupid, crazy things so that I could stand out. That's another thing. We always think that heroes, giants, they're the ones that stand out. They're the ones that have movies done about them. They're the ones that have books written about them. They're the ones that have ticker tape parades done about them. You have no idea what a ticker tape parade is. I think that ended in the 60s. But at any rate, they are the ones that the public is talking about. The public, the masses. If the public isn't talking about you, you must not have done anything that amazing. Woo. That's one of the key points of a true giant, a true hero, versus what the world thinks and sees.
Mhm.
If the public is not talking about you, you couldn't have been that important. You couldn't have done that great a thing. That's one of the biggest fallacies. I asked you, what does a giant look like? If you ask Gemini or just Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever, Samson, and then go to the images. Okay.
Mhm.
Every single one of them. Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't even touch Samson. There's only one problem with that, Tom. You know what that is?
No.
If he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger on steroids, if you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
totally.
then why the hell did they have to ask so many times, what's the secret to his strength? Find out what the secret to his strength is. If he
Uh,
looks like a bullfrog, I got no problem thinking that's where his strength is.
uh, oh, that's a really good point.
What's the point of that? Man has always missed real giants because we think we know what they look like. You know what they look like?
Joe Schmo.
Well, that's okay. Well, you slid that one in good. Well done. You're getting good at this. They look like my grandma Tucker, my great grandma, that kept the family together during the Depression and kept them fed, even though she nearly died, so that my dad could live. And then I come along. That's what a giant looks like. What does a giant look like? It looks like moms that they stay at home and they don't run companies and they don't look like they're 25 when they're 40. They look 40. but they have sons and daughters that rise up and call them blessed with all of their heart. They have husbands that would die to protect them, to continue honoring them, and out of thankfulness for the treasure that she's been to that family. That's a giant. Oh, that's bullshit. Is it? Go back more than one generation in your own family. I don't care who you are. And there's a grandma or a great grandma or an aunt that stayed at home and she raised the babies and she washed the clothes and she scrubbed the floors on her knees and she raised a generation of giants. They had never become doctors, lawyers, and anything else we call important without her sacrifice. That's another point. Real giants always sacrifice. You cannot be a real giant without sacrifice. You cannot be a real hero, a real one, without sacrifice. Combat veterans that come back get very quiet. And 99% of them, the 1%, fine, whatever, I leave them alone, whatever you want to do. But 99% of them, even if they are Medal of Honor recipients or Bronze Star, Silver Star, or whatever accolades that they earned, damn sure earned them. They're honored by it, but 99% of them are going to say, the ones that really deserve this are still buried in Belgium, or their bones are still rotting in the vegetation in South Vietnam and they were never found. Or, just go through the war, go through the time period. There they are. Why will they say that, Tom? They sacrificed. They were away from home and family. They had to put up with leeches and hookworms and tapeworms and bullets and punji sticks and bad dog food. I'm talking about dogs, not food.
Yeah,
Why would they say that?
because they got to come home and they didn't.
The measure of sacrifice, while it was sacrifice, they know full well was not the full measure. And in their minds, and they are heroes. Hell yes, they're heroes. All of my living friends of the combat stripe, in my mind, I'd take a bullet for them, I'd send a bullet for them because they're heroes. But I understand fully when they say, no. Jamal Kedrick, Bob Parker, and they'll go down the list and they'll name the names of the people in their crew and their squadron and their whatever. Those are the real heroes. Why? Because I suffered. They paid the full price. Back to the original point. Those that go to the gym and spend 2 hours a day, and I'm not against them. I'm proud for them. But don't ever confuse physical prowess or technical expertise with manhood, let alone giantism. Real giants always suffer. Number two, real giants, real heroes do real giant stuff, real hero stuff without ever thinking about it.
Yeah.
Audie Murphy didn't think, I'm going to be a hero today. That's not why he stood up and stormed those machine gun nests.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why he crawled on top of that tank and turned it against their own people, and so on and so forth. You want to go deeper? How about Roy Benavides? You ever heard of Roy Benavides?
No,
Tom!
I know.
Tom! You have got to today, no
Okay.
joke. You've got to look up Roy Benavides. Hmm. I don't have time to go into the full description. I'll just put it to you this way. He was out. He was clear. He was free. He'd done his job. He'd been a part of the mission. Well, I think he wasn't even a part of that mission. He was brought in. He was on his way out, and there was a group pinned down, and there was no way they were going to survive. I don't remember the numbers. Let's say 25 versus 1,500. I don't remember. All I remember is it was a done deal. They weren't going to make it. And he told them, turn the bird around. What? Turn this bird around. Chopper. And he went in, fought his way in, grabbed some wounded, fought his way out, got hit, put them on the chopper, grabbed another gun, fought his way back in, fought his way back out with some more wounded, got hit in the butt, got hit in the thigh, got hit in this, got hit in that. I don't know how many times. Roy Benavides finally wound up fighting with a bayonet because he was all out of ammo. And he got shot, he got stabbed, and he got blown up by a grenade or two. I can't remember. But he cleared that LZ landing zone well enough that they could get almost everybody off
Wow.
that hellhole. They walked past him with the wounded on the last trip because he was shot to doll rags and he wasn't breathing. And one of the wounded said, "You are not effing leaving him behind. Pick him up. We ain't got room. Pick him up." They picked him up, put him on the stretcher, went to pull the sheet up over him. It's just a habit. It's not because they're grossed out. It's a matter of respect. It's just part of it. They pulled the sheet up over him. And Roy told the story. He goes, I knew what they were doing. I knew why they were doing it. They'd already put a toe tag on him. He's toast. He's gone. He's done. And at one point, somebody pulled the bed sheet down for some reason. I don't remember. It's been too many years since I've heard his story. I apologize, Roy. He's been dead a while. And he goes, I couldn't do anything except spit because they were going to put him in the dead wagon and he'd have died for sure. He said, with the last energy and strength I had, I spit in his face.
That's hilarious.
If you watch videos, and there's plenty of videos of him speaking, the humility of the man, the honest, unabashed, pure, no acting humility of that man, Roy Benavides, is unbelievable. Point, he's a giant. He's a hero. He suffered. He paid a price. When he was there, he was a skinny little Mexican because of all the wounds and I don't know how much of his stomach he lost or his intestines and all that stuff to all the wounds. But because of all of that, he wound up being a plump little Mexican. Okay. In both cases, nobody took him serious as being a giant killer. Skinny little Mexican kid, kind of rotund Mexican man. Big mistake. Learn this, Tom. The public never knows what a giant looks like until a giant has already walked by them.
Mm.
And that's fine. That's fine. What does a giant look like? Can I separate a giant from suffering or from paying a price? You cannot separate a giant from the exponential effect of their work.
Mm.
Exponential effect of their work. I go to work, I do my job, I get a paycheck. That doesn't make me a giant. That doesn't make me a hero. I got paid what I was owed. What happens to a lot of people is that they think you do giant things, you ought to get giant paychecks. Not on this side. Not on this side. And real giants never think about it. They never think about it enough to let it own them. Let me make that amendment. Hidden heroes, hidden giants. Let me share a couple with you real quick. You ever heard of Eli Martin?
That sounds familiar. Can't pin a story to him though.
Eli Martin is the reason that you can have a clean shaven face every day without worrying about cutting your throat.
Hmm.
He was a barber and a good one. He used one of these. And other men came in. This is how it was done. Most men did not trust themselves to use a straight razor wisely. Wisely. Now, the main reason is most men, me included, don't really know how to sharpen stuff. Oh, I can get it sharpened enough to cut a piece of paper, but to safely run it across my face or my tender, lovely neck, nope, 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 nope. So why do I own two of them? One of them I have in my hand because I think they're cool, but I ain't using it. Eli Martin was a barber that saw men come into his shop all the time that trusted him, but were still nervous. And the occasional rare moments where he would nick somebody because a dog would bark or a door would open and they'd turn while he was doing that, to see, and he'd nick them. Sorry, sorry, it bothered him. To make it short, he worked real hard and he was not a machinist. He was not a metal worker, but he tinkered and tinkered and tinkered and tinkered and tinkered until he designed the very first safety razor. And then he worked a long time, real hard, to get people to try it. Nah, I didn't do that. He finally had success. And that person told another person, told another person, told another person, told another person. And he had a fairly successful business with his new safety razor. By the way, he remained a barber for the rest of his days. But if you look up, go ahead and duck, duck, go. Who invented the safety razor? King blah, 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 Gillette. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Not at all. Not even close. Didn't have a damn thing to do with it. He bought Eli Martin's invention. He bought the patent, he bought the company, he bought everything. He had one prerequisite. Your name does not appear on anything.
Wow.
And Eli Martin said, okay, whatever.
Hmm.
Now, if anybody doubts me, speak into or type in Eli Martin, inventor of the safety razor. And boy, it'll pop up real quick. Now, Eli Martin did not invent the safety razor. He may have had something to do with it, but his was crude and blah, 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 blah. Gillette invented the safety razor. That's because of the legal document, contract agreement that they had. Why are you talking about him with hidden heroes? because billions of men all over the world for the last, oh my gosh, 100 years, 90 years, have been able to do their own shaving at home because of Eli Martin. I said you can't separate a hero from sacrifice. Eli Martin did not sacrifice his life on a hill or in a gully or on a battleship. He sacrificed his name on a product.
Mhm.
I don't understand where you're going with that. Do you think there's not mothers and fathers and grandmas that sacrificed what they could have been? You think they weren't talented with instruments? You think they weren't pretty damn good with, I don't know, piano, guitar, trumpet, saxophone,
Right.
art? But they put their shoulder to the work and their nose to the grindstone with a full heart, glad to do it, and sacrificed their stardom so that they could not just feed 5 kids, but that they could give, whether they had one, three, five, 14, doesn't make any difference. They could give them more than they had. They sacrificed the footlights and the strobe lights and the spotlights to be lights for another generation. That's a giant, is it not?
Absolutely.
One more. I got to get my glasses because I cannot say his name without reading it. Ah, Nobuo Fujita. Nobuo Fujita. You ever heard of him?
No.
No, I didn't think so. You ever heard of Brookings, Oregon?
Nope.
That's how small a town it is.
Okay.
What does a hero look like? Sometimes a hero looks like an entire town, Tom.
Mm.
An entire town. In late 1942, Nobuo Fujita was a young royal Japanese or imperial, excuse me, not royal, imperial Japanese airman. And he was tasked with something that had never been done before and was never done again. And that was to fly a plane that was not equipped to fight, because that's weight. Guns and ammo is weight. Bombs, other than what you're supposed to deliver, is weight. And so they put extra fuel tank capacity, blah, 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 no guns, no ammo. He had no protection. Remember, have you read the book yet?
Uh, the doorway
The
buck?
Doorway Buck?
I'm halfway through.
So you've read the part about the Alaska campaign, ADAP and Chitka, the Chukchi and the Beaufort Seas, right?
Hmm.
All right. He was launched off of that area. His job was to fly over the heavily forested area of Northwest America, i.e., what turned out to be Brookings, Oregon, and drop incendiary bombs, catch the forest on fire.
Wow.
In other words, prove to the American public what Doolittle did, by the way, Doolittle's Raiders. Do you remember that?
Hmm. Parts of it.
Okay, we're going to have to up your education in world history.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. It was to put the fear of the emperor in the hearts of America by proving that the mainland was not safe.
Mm.
We sent hundreds of thousands of boys and young ladies into harm's way during World War II. But the homeland, nobody really worried about it. You know, they could hit Pearl Harbor, but they ain't going to hit Lubbock, Texas. I mean, why would
Yeah.
they want to?
Yeah.
Well, but so he came in. The town heard the. They knew what it was. How do they know? They never heard one before. If you've never heard a plane and you hear a plane and you know that nobody around you has a plane, where do you think that plane came from?
Right.
Probably Japan.
Yeah.
And he dropped the bombs. Success. They went off. Success. No, no, no. In God's good grace, at that same moment, no joke, torrential rains.
Wow.
The town heard the bomb explode. The town saw the initial, the town saw the smoldering, and the town waited for the conflagration. Now, I know it's Northwest United States and they always got rain, but still, it was fortuitous that a torrential downpour happened at just this moment. In other words, it smoldered a little bit, got put out, and that was it. Well, he dropped his bombs. There's nothing else to do except turn around and fly back to the ship. And he did. But as he got older, he had a question in his mind. What would have happened to that populace, that group of people, if those bombs had worked? And then it got to where it was on his mind, what must they think of me? Now it was war. Okay, it was war. Your enemies. Now, granted, they were civilians and he was, an acting soldier, but it bothered him. For 20 years, it bothered him, Tom. In 1962, look it up. The people of Brookings, Oregon had always talked about it. You remember that time the bombs went off? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Boy, that was something. I wonder whatever happened to that young Japanese kid. In 1962, the town got together and decided, you know what? Let's find out if he's still alive and let's invite him here.
Wow.
Now, by 1962, of course, 1945, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, da 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 da. I'm not here to argue the merits one way or the other. I am saying this that over 1 million lives were saved by the instant vaporization of well over 100,000.
Mhm.
How is that possible? Because if that hadn't worked, we'd have had to gone in with naval ground forces and the what's the term for the bare minimum? I can't think of the word right
Um,
now. But anyway, conservative. The
oh.
conservative estimates were well over 1 million, 1.5 to 1.8 million Japanese and American casualties.
Mhm.
But I will say this: there's Hiroshima, there's Nagasaki. He dropped, I don't know, 2 to 4 bombs out in the middle of the freaking forest in Northwest Oregon.
Yeah.
But in 20 years, the two peoples, the two nations, had gotten to the point that we were doing business with them on a regular basis. We actually kind of liked them again. And a lot of them sort of liked us, sort of. So in 1962, when the people of Brookings, Oregon sent the invitation to him. It found him, and he was flabbergasted. By this time, he was a middle-aged man. By this time, he had a wife, he had children, he owned a business. But the question was always in his mind. And that question was a matter of separation. That question was a matter of weight on his heart and his mind. And he thought, well, they must be wanting to look me in the eye and spit on me and tell me what a piece of garbage I was. I'm not saying that that's not how Japanese talk or anything, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They want to give me a piece of their mind. And he goes, I can't blame them. He went. And with him was a kogatana, which is the samurai sword,
Oh,
right? That had been in his family for hundreds of years. It was a matter of familial pride. It was a matter of his entire region and everything, their pride. And he took that sword with him to surrender it to the town of Brookings as a vanquished opponent and to apologize.
wow.
We're talking about giants. We're talking about hidden giants, heroes. When he got to Brookings, he was the only Japanese around, so it wasn't too hard to figure out who he
Yeah.
was. When he got to Brookings, instead of hateful looks and rocks and spit, hey, how you doing? You're that guy. You know, you dropped bombs on us 20 years ago. He couldn't make heads or tails of it. He didn't know what to do. He was confused. But the sword was still in his case, and I don't know what kind of meeting they had at town hall or whatever, but he went, and the whole town was there. The people that were alive then, and their children and grandchildren. Everybody from Brookings was there. I mean, why not? It's the only exciting thing that had happened to the town since October of 1942 when he dropped the bombs. And news reports say that he bowed deeply, which is what you did in the presence of the victor when you were the vanquished. And he offered up his sword with his head down. Talking about hidden giants, hidden heroes. And to a man and to a woman and to a child, the people of Brookings, Oregon, refused the sword, embraced their former enemy. They fed him. They asked him about his family. They showed him pictures and handed him their grandbabies. They walked him through town. They showed him the whole thing, which hadn't really grown that much. I mean, there was some businesses and stuff that as he was flying over in 1942 weren't there, but it's still a tiny little town. To this day, it's a little town. And the entire town of Brookings, Oregon, in one event, in one visit, greatly healed the wound and wonder of a former enemy. And when he went back to Japan, he told everybody, and there were still people that because of Nagasaki and because of Hiroshima and whatever, basically screw the Americans. They're worthless. They're monsters, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, no, they're not. That was war. But I have seen them face to face. And he began the healing of an entire area.
Wow.
And if you take a look And you read further, you'll find that in his last years, he actually worked to where anybody from Brookings, Oregon that wanted to come and visit Japan, he made it possible for them to come. And he showed them his family and his grandkids and his friends and his community.
Wow.
Real giants don't always whip Goliaths in glorious battles seen by everybody, but they beat the master of Goliath every single time, and that is the ruler of this present darkness. And they beat him with their own character, integrity, courage, honesty, kindness, and forbearance. Like I said to you in the very beginning, how do you thank them? Live like them. That will make you one of them. What do you think?
Those are amazing stories.
Well, did you expect it to go this way?
Um, not
You never
specifically,
know which
but
way it's going to
yeah,
go. Do you?
but it was so good. Yeah, those are the
Well,
types.
now,
Mhm.
go. I'm sorry, go.
I just said those are the types of stories that makes you ponder a lot at night, you know, or just before you go to bed. The kind of stories that truly resonate.
Um, Nations go to war. That's all they know to do. Individuals heal the scars. They're the only ones that can.
Hmm.
Nations go to war. That is all they know to do. Individuals heal the scars. They're the only ones that can. And if Hollywood never hears about you, if TikTok never gets wind of you, if the only people that ever know your name are the ones that you impacted, but then through your impact, they impact more and more and more and more. Welcome to the Giant Club, baby.
Hmm.
Now, when you read things like, and every single night, I go through Bible Gateway. It's a site, and I put on one of their audio Bibles, and I've done this for 6 years. Every single night, I put on His Word, and I fall asleep to it. And now that I'm an old guy with cancer, I get up every hour and go pee. And so I hear a little bit more, but it's playing. How much of it sticks? I don't know. But because of the monsters and the demons and the everything else in my own head, many of my own making, let me just own that. I had to start putting something good in my head on a full-time basis, or I wasn't going to make it. By that, I don't mean suicide. I mean the smallness, wickedness, cruelty that I have way too much talent with. I didn't say that to impress anybody or anything else. I said it to set this up. Every single time, if I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go pee and it's coming across from the Old Testament, Malachi, and it goes, Matthew chapter 1. Oh, hell no. Why? Because that's the genealogy of Jesus. Why?
Oh.
Because that's boring. I don't do that anymore, Tom.
Hmm.
Do you know why? Because there are hidden heroes in that. And you don't read anything about them in First or Second Samuel or in Judges or in blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
but they meant enough to God to be in the lineage of Jesus. And they meant enough to God to say, I don't care whether you ever know their story on this side or not. That's one of my heroes.
Mm.
And I'm at least going to put his name in there. And there are those he doesn't put their name in. Go to Hebrews chapter 11. We've covered it before. What more shall I say? He says. I don't have time to tell you about Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, and blah, 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 and you go down through the list. Remember? And then I get to the part where it says, and others refused to be released, waiting for a better resurrection. They were tortured. They were killed by the sword. They were sawn in two. They walked about destitute, naked, living in caves and holes in the ground. The world was not worthy of them. Which ones? David, Abraham, Noah, Jonah? No, all of them. To an equal measure. And that includes the ones that all I told you was that they spent their time down here, naked, destitute, living in caves and holes in the ground. But to me, they giants. And when you get up here, if you smart enough to surrender to me, when you get up here, you're going to meet them. And if that's the only kind of giant that I become, because I'm not yet, I'm quite content with that.
Mm.
The enemies of Samson couldn't figure out where his strength came from because it didn't come from gym muscles. There was nothing in the outward appearance that let them know, oh, that's a bad boy. No wonder he's so strong. It says this about our Savior, Isaiah 53. There was nothing about him that would draw us to him. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about his physical appearance. There wasn't anything about his physical appearance that would draw us to him. And yet, almost every single Jesus in the art world and in the movies, what do they look like?
Yeah.
Most of them are pretty. They're not handsome. They're effeminate.
Yeah, I know.
Why is that? Because a masculine savior that will wield a whip with forearms. I used to have hellacious forearms because of the bows and what I did for work. You do. They may be thin, but I'll guarantee you they're like steel cords swinging a hammer all day. But a masculine savior with a whip and big old forearms going, no, 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 we can't have that. But a soft one going, come on, guys, let's go. We can handle that.
Yeah.
That's another thing about giants. They were never built for the world to handle.
Mm.
So, why do giants exist? Well, I'm going to end it this way. I'm running out of steam. The world was built. I know it was created by God. That's a given. But the world was built and the world is maintained by giants. It's always destroyed by lesser men, sometimes with much, much bigger, stronger frames, sometimes with a whole lot more money, sometimes with much more education and clout as the world sees it. But it is only built and maintained by giants, mothers and fathers that do the hard work with no cameras and no microphones and no TikTok following of raising the next generation of good citizens. Husbands and wives that do the hard work. I don't care how good looking he or she is. I don't care how much romance you had in the beginning. Every damn one of them pisses the hell out of you before it's all over with. It's hard work staying together. And those that do it, not just to not sin against God, so I'm not going to divorce the bitch, but actually work every single day to love your spouse the way that God intended for your spouse to be loved. Those are giants. Now, they don't look like, again, giants don't look the way you think they're going to look. They don't look like, I'm trying to think, the successful couples that are all moon-eyed over each other and all that kind of stuff. No, sometimes they're glowering at each other about 5 out of 7 days a week.
Mm.
But they're not just surviving each other. Every day they get up, every single night they go to bed. Lord, help me love this person the way that you want them loved. Those are giants. The world is full of giants. That's another thing. We think they are rare. They are not. They are simply unsung. And that's fine. When you come across them, note it. Give them the thumbs up. Give them the honor due to giants. That is not just the least we can do. That is the base of what we must do if we have any hope of joining them in the world and realm of being giants. That's another thing about giants. They always see other people as being giants, and seldom, if ever, themselves. And that's all I've got, Tom.
Always so good, Chip.
What do you think, honestly? Don't give me your roundabout,
Man,
politically correct. Give me the dead honest truth. What do you think?
that one hit hard today. That was good.
I didn't mean to hit you hard, but
Well, just in a good way, You're just like right at the heart. The ones that, makes you see the beauty of life again and makes you also want to be like them.
which leads me to the last point. And yes, that was on purpose. John puts it this way in John 1. I've mentioned it before, and we'll probably mention it again if I live. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and still is. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, talking about Jesus of Nazareth. And not a single thing that was made without him. You go a couple more verses and it gets to this. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But to as many as did, he gave the power, the right, the authority, and the privilege to become adopted sons and daughters of the Most High God. The greatest giant of all times was not recognized for the giant that he was or is. So is it any wonder, or should we be too upset or offended if our mighty works of good don't get every camera, every microphone, every contract for movie, blah, 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 headed our way? The last part about a giant is they never do it for the money. They do it because that's how they're built. I can't even say that they do it for anything because they don't all do it for God. They don't do it all do it for country. They don't all do it for whatever. They do it because that's just how God built them.
Yeah, they do it because it's good.
No,
No.
no. They do it because that's how they're built. It's not a good thing to storm a machine gun nest when 17 guys already lay blown into little pieces in front of you. Nobody says, oh, this is a good thing. It's just how they're built. Well, see, that's why I can't ever be one because I'm not built that way. No, that's not how it works either. No one is built to turn down their own dreams, their own ambitions for the whole of their time down here so their children can have a better life. No one's built that way, not out of the box. Every little kid dreams of being Superman. Every little kid dreams of being president or king of the world or a famous movie star. Every single kid. Every single kid.
Yeah.
So, how do those that grow up to be good husbands, good wives, good fathers, good mothers, good soldiers, how do they do it? Because they answer the call. That's it. And if you answer the call, you're on your way. If you keep finding reasons not to, well, it's expensive. Well, it could hurt. Well, I might lose friends. Well, I could lose this project or this job. Well, just stay in the realm of worms because that's all the higher you're ever going to climb with that attitude. Giants answer the call, which walks us right back through. You can't have a giant without sacrifice. Success doesn't look the way that people thinks it does most time. And you may never be known outside the circle of those of your immediate influence, but your influence will be known for generations. I said I was done. I came up with more stuff. Sorry.
Mm. Still good.
All right. That's all I've got, my friend. I didn't even drink my coffee. I got into it and
Oh boy.
my coffee went cold. Oh, you see that? That
Yeah.
green cup? I've got two of them. They came in a box of Duz, D-U-Z. It was a laundry soap in the 40s and 50s.
Mm.
You had Lux, you had Duz, you had, well, even Tide would have cutlery or cups or, something cool in it to entice uh, housewives to buy more than one box.
Uh,
It's a cheap little, very thin rimmed. I adore it. I love it. I mean, it's great for drinking coffee. You got to drink it fast because it's thin walled and it opens out towards the top, which means the heat escapes quicker. But it's small enough, and it's manly dainty.
mm. Yeah.
It's also 75, 80 years old, and no chips, no cracks, no nothing. It was in one of the outbuildings of a place that I leased for 12 years in the Delta of Arkansas. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, by the way, if you ever do try to take up the art of using a straight razor,
Uh-huh.
okay, one, don't ever do it if it ain't super sharp. And if you don't know how to do it, just send it off to somebody that does. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Sharp ain't sharp enough. Super sharp's where it's at. Number two, perpendicular to the skin with just a tiny tilt. Everybody wants to start like this, and that's how you slice your damn face up.
Uh,
Perpendicular and scrape. A super sharp blade, ding, ding, ding. How's that work that way? Because the skin is giving way. Okay. The skin is not
uh,
straight solid, it's giving way. And in that giving way, as it gives way, look what happens to the,
Hmm.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's on the micro level, all right? And you always short, about like that. Never the big sweeping things you see in the movies.
Mm.
Anyway, you didn't ask for that, but there it is.
Oh, that's cool. I always wondered about those.
Well, it's something I know how to do, but I'll never do again because I don't need to.
That's fair enough.
And while by God's rich grace, my hands are still very steady, the day is coming, maybe fairly soon, where they won't be. And I don't need to push it.
Yeah, there's no need.
I can still do this.
Yeah.
God's best. Have a grand weekend and a great week next week.
You too, Chip. Thank you.
All right, my friend.